think it's like a thick, really thick skin, you know.
Oh, so it's a different, but it's
Yeah.
good for certain things. Like if you want
I
to.
mean, they are really like it's huge, but the taste is amazing.
So lemon cookies have been done many, many times. So I thought we'd look at something today. The same cookies kind of decorated in a few ways. So I took some photos to illustrate what I'm talking about for you guys. So here are my lemon cookies. And if you look, this is all the same cookie. So the one on the left is pastel, like really faint, barely pigmented icing. And then that same cookie in the middle was just watercolored. And then the final one on the right is a darker icing and then textured. And you see the leaves are all a bit different. So we're just going to look at piping, let's say, the details on the leaf on top, or creating sections like the two on the left, just the differences that you can do on the same cookie. So
I love seeing different variations of this. It also,
yeah, it's like a simple design of lemon, but there's a lot of ways
this
you
cutter.
can do it.
This is the cutter you have. I don't have a lemon cutter, so
Yeah,
can
it
you?
is a cutter. It's that particular shape. And
Yeah.
so
Now,
again,
so if you don't have this cutter, can you bring it up again? If you don't have this cutter, you could, instead of the leaves are kind of like a heart shape, like when you like with a stem, right? So you could probably use like a football maybe,
you could.
and
You
put
could.
like a heart in there, like make a Franken cookie. But this shape wouldn't ship well.
Well, I'm going to show you exactly. Yeah. So here, let's do the dance.
Oh, well, let me do it. Let me do it. I can do it. I'm big enough to do it.
So you
Oh,
can see my cookie broke.
oh, I
Cookie
see.
broke. This little section here is quite fragile. So yeah. So I will have the supply list with the cutter if this particular cutter interests you, but it did break. Yeah, that was a
You
bit of
could
a
make
bummer.
a rabbit out of it.
I'm sorry, what?
Do you think you could make a rabbit out of it? Like his ears are like.
Yeah, I guess you could, but I mean, I don't love it for a rabbit. It's a tad, I don't know.
I don't have a lemon cutter. I don't have a lot of like fruit or
Well,
food.
I do have a lemon cutter. Here you can see it.
Oh,
That's,
you have a smaller
and
one. I
so
see. I
if you're
like that.
doing a set, I do like mixing up the shapes. Oh, June's at the airport.
Yes.
Everybody's wishing you happy birthday. Make sure you read the comments there.
Safe travels. Safe travels, June. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Thank you for all the birthday wishes.
When you're doing watercolor, I do like to have a base layer of icing on the cookie, like a base color, like a bit, like that it's not completely white. You see this really faint kind of pastel, just to give it a little bit of a base, so that when you don't have to then paint the whole cookie, you can just accent to create some shading. Or
Was this Everclear, or what kind of alcohol?
yes, it was alcohol. So I'm adding a couple of drops of airbrush color to the alcohol, and then I'm just going to add from there.
You prefer using airbrush, right? Because when you add gel color, there is like this gunk that kind of happens when you stir it into the alcohol. I don't know, Sally. I don't know how that is even possible that I don't have a lemon cookie cutter. I don't know. I have no idea how that's possible, but.
So if you're going to watercolor, you're touching the surface. So ideally your icing is dry. So here it's a very simple shape. I added little dots to it. And now I'm coming in with the darker version. So here, this was Everclear in both, and I used the dark one to color this lighter one. So there's less pigment here than here. And that just makes like adding, the watercolor in different tones a little bit easier. Since it's not easy when you're working in this medium to get like the different tones of the same color, I find that it's usually just kind of like all or nothing. It's very hard to get that in-between color. And so I do it by having the alcohol less pigmented. And you have to clean your brush often, or else you're going to come in with the darker kind of, you see it even there, it's coming in at the same kind of color.
We do have a question for
The reason for the alcohol is drying time. So if you're using water, it's not like you can, but it takes a bit longer to dry. And so what happens is then when your surface is wet for a long time, it can cause your sugar to melt, literally melt, and then you'll get pitting in the surface of your icing, which is obviously not that desirable.
Now this would be a like I can see you airbrushing this, right? So if you don't
that
have
would be so much easier, but I'm trying
an alternative because there's a lot of people who like to paint, and you can, if you don't have an airbrush, you could also use this. Now, Olga is asking, this is a little off topic. She says, "What's the best way to make wood flag? Using a stencil or just drawing on darker lines?" Now, I just did a wood texture on the crosses a couple weeks ago. That was that was a sculpting kind of a technique. But you could just use a marker, or you could use airbrush, right? Or stencil, depending if you want it to be a little raised. Use it with Floral icing. It really depends on the look you're looking. It can be achieved various ways. You can use different.
I did that kind of marbled icing. It's on my Instagram a few days ago. If you go look, there's a bit of a marbled icing.
Oh, like it's like wet on wet?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, yes, exactly. You can also use wet on wet. Depends on, like, let's say the time you have, right? The tools you have.
Exactly.
You're looking, like, are you looking for more?
But the stencil works very well. It's fast. So for blending,
darker around the dots, right?
Yeah, I'm just touching the top of the dot. So for blending, it's easier to just add a layer of the alcohol. Where did I put that brush? Just like basically you're painting the whole surface and then it wets it. And so when you come in and add your fade, it kind of spreads a bit more easily than if you were working on a dry surface. So I'm just hitting the sides, you see, with the darker version, and then I'm coming in.
So how long would you say you let this dry before you can paint your icing?
Oh, I let it dry overnight because this doesn't take any time to dry. So it's not really adding any more sitting time to your cookie. So you let them dry overnight, and then you can make sure you're not going to damage your surface, because if your surface is not completely dry and you're coming in like with this water, you're going to cause maybe some surface damage, which is not ideal. I tried to darken the and it's so bright because the cookies are yellow, and so it's coming, you know what I mean? Like
I mean, I don't know, I think I can see pretty well what you're doing.
Yeah. So now again, I'm just adding like a layer of the alcohol, and I'm coming in with the dark.
You're using different brushes, right? You have
one is clean with no pigment on it, so that I'm not kind of coloring, and then I'm just with the darker one then coming in and adding just some shading. And this is very like whimsical, and there's no like I'm not really overthinking it. I'm just kind of like slapping it on, I want to say.
Guys, and what questions do you have? Let us know in the comments. We can answer those if you have any questions.
So those are the two kind of like versions of the thing. And then the other version, well, it's having a slice of lemon.
Oh, I love it.
I find it very difficult to kind of paint in watercolor. Here's my photo side by side. Side by side, where is it? Oh, I didn't load it. That's typical me. I was sure I did. So anyway, we'll do it. So here I stenciled on some white. I don't know if you can see it.
I can see like you stenciled on the segments. So this is a stencil you made yourself. Maybe if you darken it up a little bit, I feel like it's a little too dark. Your exposure, just a bit. Okay, yes, I think that's good. Oh, now it's zoomed in.
I'm just adjusting the. How's that? And now I'm going to, just because I stenciled on in white, I have kind of like a place to put the yellow watercolor. And it just kind of like soaks into this stenciled portion on top of it.
So Teresa says, did you say you can use regular gel color with alcohol to paint on cookies?
You can, but the gel has something to make it gel. And so it can get this gunk in your alcohol where if you
Once you
use,
start stirring it, right, it kind of becomes like this
yes,
gummy thing. It sticks to the bristles, and then all you do is remove it. But with the airbrush color, you don't get that. That's why Marlon is using the airbrush color, right?
yes. And like Amber uses the powder, but she said that when it dries, it actually like dusts off, like because
Oh,
it is a dust. And so then when it dries, it becomes
really?
dust once again.
I use gel colors. I use gel colors. What you could do, I mean, I love it. So, but the yellow ones, you did the yellow, right? You used
So
yellow
this
over.
one here is just painted right on the surface. This one is with the stencil, you see? So there's a bit of a raised area. And if you want to get like really like, you have to use a much smaller paintbrush to add your segments.
So Gail is asking, does the alcohol affect the shade of the base icing when painting all over surface before adding pigment?
Doesn't affect like it, the icing is no longer shiny. It becomes very matte finish. It doesn't keep its shine that like a freshly iced royal icing cookie has, you know, that pretty kind of like porcelain finish. It basically takes that away. I think we can see it a bit in this photo. You see how it becomes a little bit kind of matte and less polished, I want to say. And so you see you need a really small brush. And this one, in this case, because I'm doing kind of like sections, I'm not wetting the whole surface because I want to try to keep my parts separate.
I love the watercolor though, watercolor effect. It just adds like a really nice. Have you tried then outlining it with the marker, with the fine tip marker?
You mean in black?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can do it in a second. I've done it in the past, but I didn't do it like for this. So this one here is wet on wet. And these colors, now as I'm doing it, maybe it wasn't my best idea because it's very faint for you guys to see what the heck I'm doing. So I did let the
I
outside,
like lemons.
I let the outside crust over. And so I'm now adding a little bit of white to the inside. And then I'm doing a dot. Oh, the coupler fell off.
That's a new one.
It just popped right off. I was like,
So Gail says, I'm sorry, Maria, how many passes do you need to make the portrait? Oh, I guess this is about the cutting the stencils. Portrait 3 to cut through the stencil material. What do you recommend? She's having some issues.
so it's what's the thickness of your plastic? So that's probably your problem. So if you're working in, let's say a 6 or a 7 gauge, like whatever the milliliter or mil or whatever that the plastic, that's the thicker it is, obviously, the tougher it is for it to cut through. So I'm just going to do this and then I'll continue with that just because it's wet icing. So I've got my dot in the second and I'm in the center and I'm just pulling to create that little kind of middle if you've ever looked at a lemon slice. And then I'm kind of going where it is, to a line, and I'm pulling towards it. And already I can see my icing is already starting to crust. So you're pulling to get that faux looking kind of like lemon slice. And my icing, I can see it's already, you see those holes? That's because my icing's already crusting. But if you shake it, usually you can get it. And now ideally I'd have maybe a 1.5 to come in and add some more lines there because it's really not
1.5 piping tip, right? That's what you mean.
Yeah, just to get, because my lines are just not, I'm going to see here if I can switch it and do it.
Everybody's loving it.
Come on. So just a reminder, if you guys want to check out the coffee shop, Ken's having a sale.
Yes, I'm having a sale, 30%. It's a birthday sale, 30% off.
There. So let's see if I can get this to sync. And this will give me, it's still not ideal. Still not ideal. It's not syncing completely. My basement is on the dry side.
It looks good to me. There's so many different ways to make lemon slice cookies, decorated lemon slice cookies. I do like the idea of watercolor though.
Tough to adjust the consistency while I'm on here. All right, so now let's look at the leaves. So these here.
Is it a Wilton? Are these two shapes?
It's a nesting set by Wilton, and it came 3. And actually, I was looking for it. They seem to have discontinued it. But I did find...
I have it too, but I misplaced it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I always end up losing one of the 3, and it's the one I need. But anyway, so I did find a very similar 3-piece nesting set. When I get the supply list up, guys, if you want, you can check it out in the coffee shop and download it. So here you can see now, this, if you look, there's a line there in the middle. So that is done. You pipe one section, you let it crust, and then you come in and pipe the other section. And that's what creates this kind of like little dent in the middle of the leaf. Here, I flooded the whole leaf. And then once this has had time to crust, then you can come in on top with a small piping tip and add some detail. This one here has been just watercolored on top. And here you can see that matte finish I was talking about, how it just changes the surface of the cookie. So just some different kind of options. Here you can see them. Here, let me hide that. Which one is that? Oh, thank you. So you can see here, you see the middle one, how it's not as shiny as the one on the left. You can kind of see the finish difference on it. It changes the surface, the watercolor. So here I did a center vein, and this is the same color, and I'm just coming in on the side. And this will be similar to the light green one. That center vein has had time to crust, and now I'm coming in and filling in the side. So obviously the one with the, oh, there's water in the piping tip. The one with the fine line detail is pretty, but these are things that take longer to do. So you want to make your decisions about what's pretty, and then also the time it takes to do certain things. Because if you have 100 cookies, for example, to do, well, you certainly have to factor in the time to do a design. You might like an idea, but if it's not realistic to achieve in the time frame that you have, you're going to have to rethink your project so that it's a success. That's part of the thing, right? So now I'm just connecting to the vein. You can add parts and then airbrush. Like let's say you wanted the vein to be slightly darker, you can add the vein and then airbrush it and then come in and add both sides. You can drop the...
There's 2 different shades of green. What's this green? It almost looks like forest green, is it?
It's a drip color green. It's called Regaliz. Their names are Spanish.
So then he says that when she's using wet on wet, she's too slow and it starts to crust. So what is the consistency that you would recommend, or do you have any?
So the thing maybe to try, I haven't tried it. Amber has a recipe that she says takes longer to crust. She has more meringue powder that seems to delay the crusting. So that's maybe something to consider.
You can also try using white food color. It has something in it that it does help delay crusting. And also remember your ambient temperature, and if you have a fan running close by or a heater, it will definitely speed up the crusting, the air, if it's dry or something. So, but the consistency you use, like if you are just starting out, I would start with 10, consistency 10 seconds, sorry, right? And then you can increase to 15 for wet on wet. I mean, sometimes when the design is small, you can even use 20, but for,
you can use a dam, like that technique where you're damming the cookie. Do you know what I mean? Like you're outlining it, letting it dry.
Yes.
And so then it gives you more time. So this is a 1.5, and I'm just laying a line there in the middle. And you need the surface to be crusted over so that the line doesn't sink. And this type of detail is pretty, but very time consuming. So if you're doing cookies as a labor of love, as a gift, just as a hobby, then wonderful. Pipe away. Go, do every line dot that you want to do. But if you're working for money, then you need to think about speed.
So Frisha, I think Sweet Hope cookies. I think she uses royal icing and glaze together. So basically, it's like adding corn syrup.
A hybrid of some sort.
Hybrid. So Kathy has a question for you if you wanted to check it out. It's a long question.
Kathy, I saw. The hoop is an embroidery hoop. I mean, if you go on Amazon, you write embroidery hoop, they come in all sizes. And I just used a mesh that you would use to, like in bridal, you can get a really fine mesh in the bridal section. So nothing really fancy. It was just an embroidery hoop. A tension embroidery hoop is the fastest to get everything set up. Tension.
Is it tulle? Tulle.
Yes.
Tulle. Like for the tutus that you use.
Tulle. Yeah, or bridal for the veils.
Yes, that's it. How do we know how to price our cookies if we are working for money? Now, this is something that we talk about quite often. There is a really good chart. It's on a web page called Sweet Sugar Bell. So if you look up Sweet Sugar Bell pricing, it will come up. It's 10 years old. So the pricing, obviously, with the increase of cost of ingredients, it's not accurate, but it gives you kind of like guidelines how to price your cookies. And now, everything is going up, so you have to adjust the pricing.
Yeah, if you've got your price list already established, I suggest you sit down and look at it right now. Maybe you need to reassess.
I think like if you start too low, just to get the customers, it's very hard to bring it up then. So I wouldn't start like below, you're not making any money. If you're just starting out, just start somewhere first, making some money, and then you can slowly increase. But I wouldn't go too low.
Well, I've heard people, and this is unfortunate, like their competition in their town undercuts them. Yes. And, they're winning for a short amount of time, but it's not realistically, they can't, maybe they'll get, the majority, the lion's share of the orders, but long term, they're eventually going to kind of shoot themselves in the foot. They'll work themselves, and then they'll just kind of like not be able to continue because there's just a limited time you can let people exploit you,
So Cynthia is asking, how do you think stencil airbrush lines on the leaf would look?
Which one is this? Is this Cynthia? How do you think stenciled airbrush lines on a leaf? Oh, I think it's if you have the ability to make your own stencil and you can format those leaves to fit your cookie, I think it'd be very nice. And then if you, again, making your own stencils, you could maybe stencil it on with icing. That's a possibility. Wet on wet veins are quite nice too, and that's not as long to do.
Oh yeah, that is. I did a couple leaves ages ago, And I think it's the shade we're using. Where I use like 3 or 4 different shades of green. It created like it was really, wet on wet. I think it was. It was nice. You can do so many. I mean, leaves are such great.
Yes, and they fill in so nicely with, like, often I'll see like huge platters of beautiful flowers that take a long time, but I find that they're even missing the leaves, and they're filler cookies that are great. They don't take as long to make, and you can still say like, oh, my 12 cookies, and you have 5 leaves, let's say.
And the leaves can also be petals for the flowers. Like I
Yes.
did the lilies, so this could be you could do lilies with these. Just have one petal, have all the things there, all those stamens and filaments or whatever the particles are called, and have like 6 of them, and you can display them or layer them. That would be really nice. So Sally has a difficulty with my difficulty with the screen is judging how much paint is actually reaching the cookies. So I rarely get a very homogeneous.
If she's what? My difficulty is judging how much paint is actually reaching the cookies.
So
What do you mean, like on your paintbrush? Like when you're watercoloring? I struggle with watercoloring. If you're talking about watercoloring, hey, I'm far from an expert. I'm just kind of playing with it today to show like the
I guess the
possibilities.
silk screen, no?
Oh, for the silk screen. Well, silk screen, you have to be closer to the screen for it to get through, because and then also if you're using the wireless airbrush, the it's not a super strong compressor, and so the push, the blow, like on it is not that strong, and so it can kind of not always.
So this is the she means airbrush plus stencil with silk screen in between.
Yeah, I understand that, like, can be tricky, and that's it.
Right?
It's
Am I getting it right? Not
the
no, the
stencil. I don't
screen
know how
no,
thick her mesh is. You might want to try the tool with the embroidery hoop, because the tool, like, the holes are very big. It's not a silk screen, it's just mesh. The air gets through, the color gets through, like, no problem.
My only problem with the silk screen when you're airbrushing, like a lot of people, and I have a silk screen to airbrush, like for the lines that you get really nice lines clear, crisp
Yeah,
lines, no
no,
airspray.
yeah, for
Then,
defining.
but then you have to use more color. So
Yes,
is it an advantage to you to use more color than if you have to buy more color just because of the straight line? If there's, like it's really, you have to really like look at that also from the economical.
it is
Like,
more
is
expensive
it
for
is it
sure.
worth it?
So,
Yes, Angie had to increase her cost because of the cost of ingredients going up. Yes. What
well,
are your
that's it.
thoughts on extracts versus emulsions?
Han, can you answer that? I'm not. I don't.
Okay, so I've used both. I do. I mean, uh, I find that the extract is stronger. Like depending on where I'm using it. If it's being baked, I prefer to use an extract. Emulsion, I feel like they lose a little bit of flavor in baking, but that's just my opinion. But also for people who cannot have alcohol, emulsion is a good alternative because usually they're water based, so that's a really good alternative. I remember I would use Princess. It was from Lorraine Oil. I think it was called Princess something, and that's how I came up with the using almond, lemon, and vanilla together, all those flavors, because it reminds me of the Princess. I did use that in my vanilla pound cake, but I felt like the flavor kind of with the baking, it didn't really hold up very strong. So, but it's just my opinion. I mean, there may be people who love using them. I do like using them. I alternate depending on what I'm making.
Um, Here, Christine's talking about the mesh. You see, like that mesh, the silkscreen mesh has, like, it comes in different uh, sizes, the little holes, because that was designed for printing. They would, run like a squeegee over with like this paint, and so the finer the holes, the more kind of a crisp, I think, image you're getting. And so now we're using it in this application. It's one of those tools that's kind of transferred over to cookie decorating. And so, yeah, it really, like Han says, if you're spraying and the majority staying soaked into the airbrush and it's not getting to your cookie, soaked into the silk screen.
Silk screen. And then do you have to wash it? Like how many times do you I don't know. It has, I suppose it has its, cons and pros, like everything.
You see, what's her profit, Tina? I mean, so she thinks she's winning because maybe she has a lot of orders, but what's her profit margin? Is she really, like, after she calculates her gas to go buy her ingredients, which people don't think about, or the water, if you have to pay for your water to do the dishes, or you're left with literally nothing. Yes. You know, like, what's the point?
People don't, yeah. I mean, it's, yeah.
Well, I like a convection oven myself. The regular oven does the job. I mean, if you have a regular oven, it does the job. But the convection oven, I like to switch my cookie sheets, go from the top to the bottom. Usually I'm running 3 sheets at a time. So I'll take the top, put in the bottom, move the middle to the, I'll do that a couple of times so that everything is getting kind of, because the bottom is getting more heat. So those cookies tend to brown more quickly. But if I do this rotation, Han, you had a regular oven before, and now you have a convection. Yes. Is that it?
Yes. I like that. I'm with you. I like both. I mean, I mean, it does the job. I don't really have a preference, I have to say.
What is Kathy asking here? So the silk screen, the reason people use a silk screen is to press the stencil up against the cookie to create a really tight, snug fit so that the color doesn't go under the plastic. So that's the why, okay? So if you're hitting right from the top, not from the side, because obviously if you have the stencil here and you're hitting from the side, well, the color goes under. So if you're hitting right from the top and you're not shooting super strong, really soft mist, but multiple times, you shouldn't get that much underspray. And if you're using a wireless airbrush, again, the compressor is not very strong, so there's not a lot of wind and a lot of underspray happening. So less is more. Build your layer right from the top, and you shouldn't have that much underspray. Glad you enjoy it, Stephanie. I keep it at the same temperature. They just bake for less time. Like I just bake them. They bake quicker. If that makes sense. Yeah, I can't imagine either. Like, what's the point? I'd rather be doing my house chores for that amount of money. Like, my dishes still need to get done. My floor still needs to get washed. I still need to make supper. I'm not going to give somebody my time when I could be using it. I got toilets to clean.
And has a good point. Yes, yes. It is actually true. Like how, I mean, you know what I mean? Like how that, yes, because people think it's, yes, it's just a mind game.
Well, the thing is, would you rather make money selling 5 dozen cookies versus, you think, oh, I'm so busy, I'm selling, 1,000 cookies a week, but you could be making the same money selling 100 cookies a week. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Okay, so let's look at the next cookie in the set. Here's a little interesting photo for you guys. So this is a 104 piping tip. Many of you own a 104. 104 is a rose tip. And if you look carefully, they look different, the flowers. So I have the piping tip with the fat edge on the outside.
I see.
One on the left, and then the standard kind of conventional way on the right there, it's with the petal narrow on the outside, which is how we usually do it. And if you look at the leaf, one of them is just watercolored and the other one has those pipe lines. Personally, I like the watercolored one. You can't really, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a small cookie. I don't know that it's worth.
Is this shape for real, or is this You
No,
built it.
this is a real shape. It's from the same company that I bought the lemon cutter with the shape on. And another thing, people tend to use, you know, the watercolor and alcohol. Markers work great. Markers are, you can come, you know, you don't have to constantly be dipping. You can kind of roughly color and then come in with the alcohol and kind of like blend. And it's a fast way to get your,
Also shading with brown if you need to like give it
yeah,
more like antiquing, I would say, right?
yes.
Yeah, you can do that.
So here's my piping tip, the 104. Now I've got the fat
You
edge
want to zoom in a little bit so it's a little closer?
like that. Is it too blurry? So
No, it's
fat
fine.
edge, and I'm not moving. I'm right above, like right above. I'm squeezing, and as I'm squeezing, the icing, because I'm staying in the same spot, is expanding to the right and to the left. And then I pull down. Let me try to adjust my
The exposure a little bit. Yes, this is fantastic. Thank you.
so I'm right above, squeezing. The icing has nowhere to go, right, left. It's kind of like oozing out on both sides. And then I pull away, you see, and it gives it this super cute, chubby petal. It's a different look than what we, you know, what we kind of usually see it done in, you know, like that. So now I've got this hole in the middle. So all you have to do for that, let me grab a paintbrush. They all have color on them. So you can just come in with your paintbrush and kind of pull it to fill in the gap there in the middle, like that. And then after it's had a bit of time to crust over, I'll do it right now, but you can come in and kind of dust your middle with little pollen particles. But if you look on this one here, let me show up my picture. I did let them dry and dry dusted them with some petal dust. If you want to do that, if you look at blossoms on fruit trees, they often have a little blush kind of in them, you see? So that gives you that flower. And then the more kind of like usual way. So this is the narrow edge towards the outside, which will give you, this flower here is sturdier. You're going to get less breakage. This one here, the petal is kind of raised and much more fragile. So this one here will tend to get like more cracking if you put them in a bag, you know, you'll get little particles that will break off on the edges. So if that's, you know, something to think about. And again, I'm just kind of like flattening down the middle there. And you see my piping tip was a bit dry because it's sitting there, and that's what's giving me this kind of like really rough edge on the petals, but I don't hate it.
No, it looks more realistic. Caitlin has a lovely message for you.
Well, thank you very, very much. We're glad. This makes us happy. This is why we do it, you know. It's like it's something obviously that we love. We couldn't be doing it as much as we do it if we didn't love it, and we're so happy to share it with you guys and glad you like it.
Thank
okay,
you.
so there's the two.
Look at these. So I mean, do you have? You took it off? Did you take it off? You just left it there for a second.
Oh, well, here, let me put them back. So personally, oh, well, here, let's ask, do you like chubby or what do we call the other one? Chubby or thin? Fluffy? Are we
Fluffy? I like Fluffy. You know the comedian Fluffy. I love Fluffy. What's his name? Yeah, I can't think of it. Now, depending on where I get, I love cherry blossoms. I know these are for the lemons, but these also remind me of cherry blossoms. So I like the ones with the pink center. But I mean, they're both. You can use them both. It's just a different look. Beautiful.
Well, this one here, though, I have to say, because the packaging, when you have your bag or your, you know, you bag up your cookies and there's all broken, like, look at how raised this is. Like, if this is in a bag, your petals are unfortunately going to crack off.
Yes, they will chip. I also like the watercolor on the leaf, on the one you were showing, the one with a fat tip.
Hold on, where
Yes,
my
Gabriel
camera?
Iglesias. Love him. Fluffy. Yes. He's fantastic.
Okay, so now
If you
we've
ever
done
need a
the
good log, look him up
flowers.
on YouTube, and you guys will, he's fantastic.
I got some
They love it. They love the Krisha likes the frilly one.
but you can keep the other version in your back pocket, like they say
Oh,
sometimes. So, this is it. Yeah.
how big is this?
Oh,
Seriously,
it's
this
very
is so
small.
cute. Oh, this is
Very
so
small.
cute.
Very small. So if we look at the
These are
photo,
ladybugs, huh?
if we look at the photo, you can see here.
How did I miss the ladybug? I mean, I saw these. I didn't even think. I mean, it is so cute.
So
Sorry.
it's a really simple color palette. So I thought that the ladybug would kind of add to it. So chubby, fluffy.
Yes.
Or is that
So
one of
oh, sorry. So where is it? Stephanie likes chubby for lemon flowers, and I think I'm with you. Stephanie likes chubby for lemon flowers, and Finn for cherry blossoms. I think, yeah, yeah, I agree. I think this yes, I agree. Though for the lemons, I'm gonna have to look at the lemon flowers. I don't know.
they're it's not my, like, they're very narrow. It would be kind of like, that smile piping tip. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Smile
The
piping tip.
chrysanthemum?
Smile piping tip.
Yeah, it's like a chrysanthemum tip.
Oh, 61.
So
I don't
here,
know the name, but 61. I know which one. I felt Lumen like the pedal one. 61 or 81, I think it is.
so here I had mixed brown icing for my lemons, and I didn't feel like mixing up black icing, so I just piped the brown on my ladybug, and then once it has time to dry,
Oh,
you
that's
can
a
just
neat trick.
you
I
can
wouldn't
just
have thought at all. At all. That's that's nice.
so
So
then
and
you
then
can
what did you do with the dots? Did you do the same thing?
well, my brain didn't think that far ahead. Then I did have to mix, but no, for the dots, you know what you could do? You could pipe them in red and then come in right on the top and just color them in. But the thing
So
that was my problem was the little antenna. So if you decide you want to do the antenna, that will
So the
be where
smiley
you.
face, just to interrupt you, because it's very hard to cut in. It's like you have to like squeeze in
Oh,
somehow.
go ahead.
So,
I know I'm.
it's 81 for anyone who's it's the smiley face. Smiley face piping tip. We don't have it on here, but I have several because for moms it's a great tip. It's 81. Yes.
And so this coloring of the another color in the black can help. I get a lot of messages. People have all sorts of black issues with regards to bleeding, or they can't get it as black as they want, like, so if you're coloring it in with the marker, well, obviously it'll be jet black and probably less susceptible to the bleeding. Now, when you're
This
doing a ladybug,
from Sugar Bell. Sally
I'm
is
sorry.
asking.
No, this is a metal cutter. And again, it's in the shop. I did find it, and it's in the shopping list. I will add the shopping list as soon as we're done. I just forgot to do it before the live. It's by it. Cheap Cookie Cutter Kingdom, I think it's called, has it.
Oh yes, that's
So
the
it's
yeah.
just
It's a name. Yes, I recognize that shop. I think
yeah.
I
So it's just an
purchased it.
inch, tiny little cutter, but it's one of those that's just an added little detail. So when you're doing something like this that you want really round, the stiffer your icing, it might be fiddly, but because it's such a small area, it is easier to kind of get it to smooth out. And so this helps keep it round. The runnier your icing is, well, it dries flat. And now you can, if you want, add your dots now while the icing is wet. They will sink in and look more ladybug-ish. Or you can do what I did on the other one. You kind of let them
I wonder
cross.
if it's small, if you could even use like nonpareils or something like that.
You could. The nonpareils, depending on how fast you are, they can be long to position.
And that is yes, that is true. Yes.
So there's the little dots. And then here at the top of the head here, I'm just doing this a 1.5, and I'm just adding little antenna. So this is, again, you know, these things take time. You can decide if it's worth it.
So cute. I love ladybugs.
For this type of stuff, it really, like these little touches, it jazzes up the sets, you know. I'm just squeezing. And you can, like I say, do them in red, and then they'll be raised up, and then you can come in with your marker and just touch the top of the dot. And there you have the little ladybugs. So we've done the ladybugs. What's our time like? Okay, so one last thing I wanted to show you guys. So same thing for the stem here. I had the pastel. So if the color wasn't that dark, you can come in and color it with the brown, you see?
And what's the marker this? This is America brand. Emery brand. Am I saying it right?
Americolor. So
Americolor brand, yes.
This brush is very paintbrush-ish. So yes, it's great for filling.
But I've had those, I have to say, and this is like, it's going, I've had those for like 12 years and they still go.
Yes, mine too. They last a really long time.
They still go. Like, it's not like I use them every day, but I actually did refill the brown. I took the cartridge out and I loaded it with a new brown paint that I made with alcohol, and it works. Wow, you made lots of lemons. You know how much I love lemons.
So these guys here have had time to dry. And what we're going to do is this effect on it. And so here, let me put the photo up. It's not showing.
The cellulite.
There it is. So it's the textured version.
Textured, yes. I like that too.
So if you look at an actual lemon, they can be kind of wrinkly, I want to say. They look like they've got cellulite.
Yes, bumpy.
So I like to use this.
Oh, it's a lemon skin, I suppose. Oh, you use press and seal?
So this stuff is, I like to call it crunchy. You'll hear in a second. You hear it's like crunchy? It's like a plastic that's just got like, it's not like saran wrap.
I'm having a flashback when I first did these bears 10 years ago. I also used food wrap.
So this is just the same icing, and I'm just dabbing the surface with this icing. And you don't want to do like a dozen. Like here I've got 4, it'll be fine. And so I'm just...
But this is much faster than using a brush, you know? So if you are doing it right, I find it's a lot faster than using a brush when you have to be like so meticulously, you know, going from one edge to another, and this is so much faster.
So I'm pressing, I mean, I'm not pressing like a hammer, but you are pressing enough that if you were this not be completely dry, you would damage. So you want to have a relatively dry surface, because as you see here,
I can see you dipping it in slightly, like when you're finishing, we know that you got the texture on, dipping it in slightly darker, like orange, like, you know, like to get the shading, and just do that. Like,
well, you could do a dry brush of a little bit of green, let's say, or because sometimes, you know, when the lemon isn't ripe, you could do a little bit of green, a touch of green on it.
So Maria, if Maria is asking, if I want to use dry lemon peel in my cookies, do I need to rehydrate it first? No, I don't think so.
No, the egg and butter will be doing that. The oven will be you know what I mean? So you don't have to worry about that.
I mean, obviously it needs to be small. You know, like you have to, if it comes in like, I don't know how that comes. I usually just use my zester, but
yes,
like in a big peel, you have a big piece, so I would chop it up. Even pulverize it. Yeah, pulverize it in a little chopper or coffee grinder or something that you have.
So there. This one has the stem. So you can, here, let me pull out. So for the leaves, I'm just connecting to that wood area, and then I'm pulling out just to give myself like the position. And then I'm taking the green over to the edge of the cookie just to shape and fill properly here. And then you can kind of like just flood the whole thing once this has had time to crust. You can
So
add
the
the
middle
little,
line was basically like a guide, right?
yes.
The
So I'm
middle,
doing it
the middle line was a guide.
to build around so
Mm-hmm.
that I get my shape correct, you know?
Yes.
And you don't want to have a super fat like connection because it's very small. So it's going to look, you know, just heavy. And if you want, you can make your blossoms on like in royal icing transfers and attach a little flower there if you wanted. And if you want on the lemons that are alone, you can pipe a leaf kind of like, you know, that it's kind of like folded over on it or so you see here.
Okay.
Such a simple color palette.
So Sandra has a good question. I'm making peep cookies with
Oh,
colored
yes.
sugar. Can the base royal icing be white?
It depends on your sanding sugar. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Like it depends. You want to maybe do a test to see what kind of like.
So if it wasn't like I actually have a good sample here, but you won't be able to, I think, because my camera is not as good as when I'm using the camcorder. But I agree with Marlon. It depends on the sugar. But if I wanted to be on the safer side, I don't know how many different sugars colors you have. I would probably use colored royal. I think it will give you better results.
Yeah,
It really depends on the sugar. Like here, remember on Tuesday, I was doing the eggs, so I did. I fixed them up, guys. I got a few hate messages because people didn't like them.
a few.
Yes, emails. I was like,
Really?
okay, so
People
this
take the time to write you an email that they don't like your project?
like seriously, with everything that is happening in the world now, right now, my least worry is my egg cookies. But so I did redo them because I took all your ideas. But here is the sugar, and this sugar I used underneath. It's pink. I didn't feel like using blue, and I think I should have used blue because you can see the like it doesn't bother me here. But if you're using it on peep cookies, then you might not get the result you want. Thank you, Sally.
Oh, yeah, let's do a little reminder. Sally brought up here. So, guys, on the 25th, is the photo there? Oh,
On
here
the
it is.
25th, we're doing, yes, that's actually next week. Right, that's next week, right? Today's Friday.
Yes, for
Yeah, so
Friday.
that's next week. We're doing a mini class. I still didn't get a chance to respond to all my patrons who wanted to join. So you guys can join us and decorate with us live. If you are members of our patron groups, which are paid groups, all the instructions on how to prepare are all posted there, along with the video with step-by-step. Um, um, and we will be doing it on March 25th. And if you want to join us and decorate with us, please email us so we can instruct you how to join us live. And there's also a link to a previous
Correct.
live that we had, so you can see what it looks like when you join us live, how we are doing that and decorating together.
All right, so that's it. So what time is it? Well, it's an hour. So that's it, guys. So basically, that's what I wanted to kind of show you is the same shapes and just some different ways that you can kind of do one cookie. You know, there's no right or wrong way, but it's just some inspiration. And sometimes, for example, like having the lighter base color to watercolor in darker, you know, these types of little techniques so that you can kind of quickly slap on the watercolor as opposed to working on a white surface. If you're working on a white surface, well, then you have to be like making sure you're coloring the whole thing. Whereas this, if I missed a spot, it doesn't show. It's just kind of like, oh, it's part of it, you know? And then if you don't like the finish, that they're a little bit matte, you can give them a little shot of shellac. If you have the PME varnish there, you can kind of give them a little sprucing up with the spray. So
Well,
happy
thank you,
birthday.
darling. Thank you, darling, for making the lemons my favorite.
So don't forget, Han's having her little sale in her coffee
30%
shop.
off.
Support her for her birthday. Go buy one of her templates. So we hope you enjoyed that. The coffee address, is it on there, Han?
No, I took it off as we were showing the images. Let me see. So, no, this is the Patreon. There. This is my coffee shop.
There
And
it is.
also, oh, here are both of ours coffee shops. Oh, this is, yes. So,
yeah. So our handle is the same almost everywhere. And so
yes.
that's it. So thanks everybody for
Thank you,
joining us.
guys.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.